It's a concept of a right that pertains simply to action, and only to action, really. Specifically, to freedom of action. It means freedom from physical compulsion, coercion, or interference by other men. And they must treat you the same way, and you must treat them the same way. The right to life is the source of all rights. And the right to property, which we're seeing whittled away in this great nation, the right to property is the only implementation of the right to life. Without property rights, no other rights are possible. So you have the source of man's rights, which is really the law of identity, that A is A, man is man. Rights are conditions of existence required by the nature of man for his proper survival. And it spells out how free men can live together, honoring those rights. If a man is to live on earth, it's right for him to use his mind. What separates us from the other animals is that we have the power, the ability to abstract and to think and to be creative. And it's the right to act on this own free judgment now. Remember, free judgment. Not the government telling you how to think or what to think. It's free judgment that is important, and it is right to work for those values that you want to sustain and you want to keep. Now, with property rights, the right to life being the source of all rights, and the right to property being the implementation of it, without property, no other rights are possible. Your life and your body is your property. It is your property. Bear in mind that the right to property is a right to action, like all the others. And since the source of property rights is the law of causality, and all property and all forms of wealth are produced by your mind and your labor, your creativity, your ability, you cannot have effects without causes. So you cannot have wealth without its source, without intelligence. And of course that means that you can go out and work. You should be able to buy property, and then you own it, all of it, the allodial rights to it. So the right to property means that a man has the right to take economic action. Whatever economic action is necessary for him to earn that property, go out and buy it, to use it, to dispose of it. It does not mean that others must provide him with the property, and it doesn't mean that he needs to have the government steal that property away from him because they want to declare it wetlands, dry lands, whatever. The government really does not have any business sticking their nose in seizing your property. Now, my president, your president, asked me a question directly. The question that he asked me was, how dare you suggest that we in the freest nation on earth live in tyranny? How dare we? Now let me come here to a memo that was just handed to me that is floating around now in the form of a House bill. House Bill 1544. No, before I get to that, let me go to this. Here is a teletype, RE paranoia among militia groups warning to law enforcement personnel that's traveling the airwaves now, the electronic waves around the country. To all law enforcement people. Distribution Lower Peninsula from Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Washington, D.C., to all federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. AFT intelligence information suggests, this is an oxymoron in there somewhere. Intelligence information suggests that the Oklahoma City bombing may have heightened paranoia levels among various militia groups across the United States. Information suggests that this bombing may have been seen as a staged terrorist attack by the federal government as part of an overall plan to declare martial law and suspend the Constitution. See, they already got lines. But now comes the spin. See, now it's the spin doctrine. So in addition, many groups will be extremely despondent over the arrest and investigation of militia members and may consider the situation desperate. No. Many of these members feel that an attack on them is imminent and have already gone into an alert status. These groups have been known to mobilize and arm themselves for the purpose of obstructing law enforcement action against other militia members. Due to this, all law enforcement personnel are warned to take extreme caution when contacting any known militia member or affiliates. Well, I certainly would hope they wouldn't be stupid enough to try to pull another Waco or a Ruby Ridge. Now that doesn't mean that they got it about half right. That's one of the reasons. They don't seem to really clearly understand the picture. That's one of the reasons that many of us are on a state of alert. But the alert means they call us paranoia. Any man who has been in warfare, any man who's been in the jungles, any man who's crawled on the ground, any man who's stayed in water, hiding behind a block of wood for 18 hours and couldn't get out. Any man who's walked along, stumbled across people who have been killed, murdered, wiped out. Any man who knows that the next bullet could be his, have his name on it, is a man who understands how to heighten his sensitivities, his alertness, state of alertness. He sees better. He hears better. He smells better. He can actually smell the enemy. He feels everything. The hackles on the back of his neck will go up. He knows when to drop if he has this heightened sense of awareness. In the martial arts, it's called focus. It's called satori, enlightenment. You can train to this level. Special forces people train to this level. Most of the others don't. They don't take it seriously. And unfortunately, because they don't take it seriously, we get a lot of men killed when we go into combat. Now there is that. They don't understand that this is not paranoia. That this is just a heightened state of alertness. Here's something else they don't understand. You would think that the politicians would say, well, maybe these guys have a point here, since we're listening to what they're saying. They're saying we don't want a revolution. We're not trying to create a civil war. We don't want to overthrow the government. We want it back on track. We want the constitutionally limited republic this is supposed to be. So what do? They get busy in Congress. Here's H.R. 1544. And H.R. 1544 wants to prohibit the formation of private paramilitary organizations, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. This act may be cited as the Domestic Insurgency Act of 1995, Section 2, paramilitary organizations. In general, whoever knowingly participates in a paramilitary organization shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. As used in this section, the term paramilitary organization means two or more individuals acting together, organized in a military or paramilitary